Most people misunderstand where real power comes from. They assume it belongs to the loudest voice in the room, the strongest body, or the person who reacts first and hardest. But in moments of real confrontation, whether in conversation, negotiation, or conflict, the advantage almost always belongs to the person who remains calm. Calm is not weakness, it is control. Throughout history, the individuals who dominated high-pressure situations were rarely the most aggressive. They were the most composed. One of the clearest examples of this principle lived in violent, unpredictable times, where emotional mistakes were fatal. His name was Miyamoto Musashi, a Japanese swordsman who survived and won over 60 duels to the death. Musashi did not succeed because he was physically superior. He succeeded because he mastered his inner state when others lost theirs. If you appreciate thoughtful breakdowns like this, where history, psychology, and real-world application come together, take a moment to like this video. It helps more than you might realize, and it allows this kind of content to reach people who are searching for it. When confrontation begins, the human body reacts instantly. The heart rate increases, muscles tighten, breathing becomes shallow, and attention narrows. This reaction is automatic. It is driven by ancient survival mechanisms designed to protect us from immediate danger. In the modern world, however, these same mechanisms often work against us. They limit clear thinking and push us toward impulsive responses that escalate situations rather than resolve them. Musashi recognized that most people lose confrontations long before any real exchange takes place. They become overwhelmed by anger, fear, or pride. Their actions begin serving their emotions instead of their objectives. Once this happens, clarity disappears. Strategy collapses. The person is no longer choosing how to respond. They are reacting. To counter this, Musashi developed the ability to separate himself from his emotions. Instead of identifying with anger or fear, he observed them. He treated emotions as temporary events rather than commands that needed to be obeyed. This internal separation allowed him to remain mentally stable even in extreme situations. Rather than saying, "I am angry," he recognized, anger is arising. That small shift created space between stimulus and response, and within that space existed control. Modern neuroscience supports this idea. When people consciously label what they are feeling, the rational areas of the brain become more active, while emotional centers begin to calm. The simple act of noticing an emotion, rather than becoming it, restores access to judgment and choice. Musashi practiced this skill intentionally, placing himself in increasingly tense circumstances while maintaining psychological distance from his reactions. One of the most famous demonstrations of this discipline occurred during his duel with Sasaki Kojiro, a highly skilled swordsman known for his pride and volatile temperament. Kojiro arrived early, already tense and impatient. Musashi arrived late, deliberately. With every passing minute, Kojiro's frustration intensified. His breathing changed, his focus narrowed, and his emotions consumed him. By the time the duel began, Kojiro was fighting from anger. Musashi, by contrast, remained composed, observant, and detached. The outcome was decided before the first strike. Remaining calm, however, was only part of Musashi's method. Once emotional distance was established, he focused on anticipation. He believed that understanding human patterns allowed one to sense what was likely to happen next. This was not intuition or guesswork, but careful observation. People under pressure behave in predictable ways. Anger escalates. Fear limits options. Pride blinds judgment. Musashi studied his opponents closely. He observed how they reacted to stress, what techniques they favored, and how they behaved when challenged. By anticipating likely responses, he removed the element of surprise. This mattered because unexpected stress overwhelms the nervous system, while anticipated stress sharpens focus. The body reacts very differently when it is mentally prepared. Another element Musashi considered essential was control of breathing. He observed that emotional instability always appeared first in the breath. Fear made it shallow. Anger made it fast. Panic made it irregular. Rather than trying to suppress emotions directly, Musashi regulated his breathing to influence his mental state. Slow, controlled breathing activates the body's calming system, signaling safety rather than threat. He practiced breathing techniques that emphasize longer exhalations than inhalations, creating a physiological state of calm even under pressure. This technique remains one of the fastest ways to regain emotional control. A single deliberate breath can interrupt an escalating emotional response and restore clarity. If you want more content that breaks down powerful ideas like this in a calm, practical way, consider subscribing. New videos explore history, psychology, and human behavior in depth, designed to help you think more clearly in a noisy world. Yet even with emotional distance, anticipation, and calm breathing, Musashi believed one final element was necessary: purpose. Emotions are powerful, but they are unreliable leaders. Purpose provides direction when emotions attempt to take control. Musashi entered confrontations with a clear objective. His actions were guided not by how he felt in the moment, but by what outcome truly mattered. When people lose sight of purpose, conflicts spiral. Conversations drift from the original issue into personal attacks and unresolved grievances. Purpose anchors attention. By defining the desired outcome before engaging in confrontation, a person prevents emotional hijacking. Thoughts, words, and actions remain aligned with long-term goals rather than short-term reactions. This approach does not suppress emotions. It places them in service of intention. Emotions become information rather than commands. Calm becomes functional rather than passive. In today's world, this level of emotional control is more valuable than ever. Modern life exposes people to constant provocation. Social platforms reward outrage. Speed is prioritized over reflection. Many conflicts are fueled not by necessity, but by impulse. In such an environment, the individual who maintains composure operates on an entirely different level. The calm person does not just handle confrontations better. They recognize which confrontations are unnecessary. They conserve energy, preserve clarity, and engage only when there is something meaningful to gain. This restraint often dissolves conflict before it begins. The greatest strength Musashi demonstrated was not dominance over others, but mastery over himself. That mastery allowed him to see clearly while others were blinded by emotion. It allowed him to act deliberately while others reacted impulsively. And it allowed him to win not because he fought harder, but because he thought better. The most dangerous person in any confrontation is not the one who raises their voice, tightens their fists, or rushes forward without thought. It is the one who remains calm, aware, and purposeful while everyone else loses control.